question mark.
Ba, 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 ba.
But we're live. Awesome. So,
Okay.
uh, thank you for joining me this Christmas evening. I know you probably got family and friends over and whatnot, but for Christmas I got from my cousin a bunch of very interesting old hardware. Some that we've talked about, and some that is an absolute surprise and mystery to even me. So, uh, you have much more knowledgeable or much more knowledge of the old x86 architecture than I do, because at that time I was more of an Apple fanboy. So I thought I
Okay.
could really use your help going through some of the stuff. Other
Yeah,
than,
no problem.
I mean, I
Uh,
I don't
that
think.
is a chocolate covered biscuit, I guess. Walnut square bar. Okay.
So what this is a chewy caramel walnuts covered in dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Delicious. So let's see.
I
I
don't
got
remember any older computers that used that. Is that must be one of the newer things?
uh yeah, or it might be something that powered some of the antiquated manual computers, or at least the user interface that interfaced with the older computers, since they were squishy
Um,
flesh bags who needed to push buttons and
the packaging looks a bit newer than those times. I'm thinking like maybe older mainframes. Maybe I'm
yeah.
not as familiar with those.
Well, they seem to be interesting. So obviously, this here that I'm pointing at is, I recognize this. This is a 775 socket.
Okay,
And
so
let me see if I can get,
like the Core 2 series or something.
with what little bit of the thermal paste I scratched off, it's a bit older.
Oh,
Actually, a whole lot older.
Pentium 4.
Yep.
Dang, they were already using
The
they're already
Pentium
using.
The Pentium 4 is a weird one because the Pentium 4 spanned, I think, three different socket types. Uh, with the last one being 775.
Ah,
And this happens to be, let's see if I can get this to focus.
Pentium 4. Uh,
3 gigahertz, 1 megabyte cache, 800 megahertz front side
mm,
bus.
SL7PU. I guess you can use that code to look it up.
Mm-hmm. Since I'm at it, I might as well get rid of the big amounts of thermal goop on this.
I wonder if it's one of the Pentium 4s that supports 64-bit. Let's see. It's
Could be.
Prescott Core has hyperthreading and supports execute disable.
This one.
Okay, looks like it does not support 64-bit. Okay.
Hmm. Well, oddly enough, the computer that I have right here that I'm doing this stuff on is a 775 socket. But it's actually the later 775 socket, and I believe the BIOS on this machine does not support the Pentium 4 and the Pentium Ds.
Huh.
So this is like the You know how Intel did the tick-tock? So they did a node change, and then they did an enhancement of that node.
Uh,
It's kind of like,
something like that.
for example, the processor for your motherboard. You have Nihilum and then Westmere. So the Nihilum was the tick, the change from the last Core 2 to the first generation Core I. And then there was the Talk, which was the second generation Core I, or the second iteration of that first generation of Core I, and um, like the Xeons. So there was a tick-tock there, and then afterwards it was more of the tick was Sandy Bridge, the talk was Ivy Bridge, the tick was Haswell, the talk was Broadwell, and so on and so forth until Intel was like, nah, screw this, we're going to do the 14 nanometer plus 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 plus. This other one's interesting because this is a celery, but this is a Celeron from '01. And this might actually fit in, I think, a Pentium 3 socket. Or at least like 395, 397 or something like that. I don't remember. But here, let me.
Intel 01. SL5.
SL5VR.
Yeah, SL5 VR.
And I don't know if any of
Looks
these.
like yeah, Salon. Take the hit. Huh, that is a socket 370. Okay.
Huh. Called it.
Yeah, that socket was used for Pentium 3s and such.
Oh god, this one's gonna be fun. Yeah, I don't know if it's worthwhile. It's actually pretty speedy at 1.3 gigahertz.
Yeah, I didn't know they made processors that fast for that socket.
Yeah. So, eh.
Oh well, the bus speed is only 100 megahertz, so
You win some, you lose
I guess
some.
that would work. I know the most common 1 gigahertz Pentium 3 for the socket 370 had a bus speed of 133 megahertz, which a lot of motherboards using older chipsets for that socket didn't officially support that bus speed, and maybe some of the cheaper ones didn't really run that reliably at that speed.
Yeah. Neat. Oh, I wonder. So the 370 is the Pentium 3 socket, correct?
Yeah.
One of the I think it's a slot 2 adapter in one of the motherboards that I gave you has, I believe, a 370 socket.
Probably means slot 1. Slot 2,
They're
I believe, was only used for Xeon
Xeons.
systems or something.
So, yeah. Would be interesting to see if that would actually work in that, because that would be pretty interesting. Maybe not on that particular motherboard, but
well, with a bus speed of only 100 megahertz, there's a good chance it would work. I guess the only possible issue could be BIOS support.
Yeah.
Hardware-wise, it should be fine.
Let's take a look and see what I've got here. This looks like... Oh, you have a tendency to be able to identify RAM a little bit more. What the hell is this? This is double-sided. This is a double-sided SIM. 72-pin SIM? I think this might be 128 meg. Oh, EDO. So...
EDO sims, yeah. Those are a thing. Oh, it's got 9, oh yeah, X36, so it's, ECC as well.
And it's got the chips on both sides.
Yeah, well, 120 megabytes, that is a lot of memory for a single 72-pin SIM. I wonder what the... Is that the maximum possible capacity for these?
Ooh, this one's a crusty bugger.
Yeah, that's the largest size possible for 72 or regular 72-pin sims anyway.
Wow, this one's got flux residue all over it. Wow. I'm gonna have to...
Yeah, you got 4 of those? That must have come from some
5.
pretty hefty... That must have come from some pretty hefty server, remember, workstation.
Because... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that must have been expensive back when those were used.
Oh, yeah. I mean, probably costs as much as DDR5 does now. I don't know if you've taken a look at the cost of DDR5, but do you want a GTX or an RTX 3090 Ti, or do you want some RAM? Is basically kind of the gist of it. Yeah, this one is good. I'm gonna have to wash this one in alcohol because this one is gunked the F up. The rest are pretty darn clean-ish. Huh. I don't know where they've been. But neat. This one I don't know what it is. This is single-sided.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3,
And has
4,
no markings. Let's
8
see if...
chips, so it's probably not ECC.
Would you like me to read the chip name?
Right, sure.
MT4C 4M 4E 8BDJ.
BDJ. Okay.
BDJ.
Oh,
Or
BD.
8DJ.
8DJ. Okay.
The top number is 9732P.
Okay, that's okay, so that's -6, so that's probably 60 nanosecond.
I have 2 of those.
Alright, so they got MT4C4J, that's 4 meg by 4 EDO DRAM.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that's 4 bits per? Okay, I'm gonna need to look at the pinout on this thing. The data sheet. Here we go. EQ 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's. Wait, are these 74 pin as well? Or 72 pins? Or the Yeah, okay. All right. That makes more sense then. So, yeah, that's 4 bits for each chip. So that is
And these, I think these
4
are,
times 8. Yeah, that's 32 then. Right, that's correct. The 32-bit data bus for 72 pin sim.
what the
So
heck?
it says 4
Six,
million
seven,
per. So that's 4 times 4 is an 8. That's a 16 megabyte module.
oh, okay, now I see. This is,
16. Huh?
oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So it's a 16 megabyte module, and the dash 6 at the one corner of the chip means that it's 60 nanosecond access timing.
Hmm, cool. Yeah, is it at all in of use for any of your machines, or do you have better?
And I'm not sure which of my computers can take EDO RAM.
Hmm,
There's a good chance my 486 can't. Um, Although in that case, I already have as many 16 megabyte modules as I could fit on it anyway. Pentium system might.
huh. Well, the reason why I said the RAM that I'm holding right now is neat is there's 8 chips on this side, but every 2 chips on this side has a chip on this side.
Okay, so that's 8 on one side, 2 on the other, or
Or
4 on the
4
other.
on the other. So every,
That's 12 total.
yep. But if you wanted to see the label, so
Dash
this is the
70.
same model or is the same brand as that the 128 meg DIMMs.
Okay, are the chips on the back the same as the ones on the front?
No, the chips on the back are Aki, OKI, and the chips on
Okay.
the front are I don't recognize the brand labeling. It's SEC Korea KM 44 C4 100 and either a 0 or a D and then a CK-6. Oh yeah, it's KM44 C4 100 CK-6. Another chip I was looking at is
Uh,
a hell of a lot more clear.
okay, those again are 4 meg by 4, 4 meg by 4 chips. And it's a dash 6, so that's 60 nanoseconds again. The, okay, so I'm guessing that the chips in the back will be 1-bit chips, in which case those are for the parity or error correction or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Interesting that there's parity for every 2 chips in the front.
Well, yeah, because each chip is 4 bits.
Hmm.
Or each chip in the front is 4 bits, and then each chip in the back is 1 bit. That 1 extra bit per byte. So,
Well, cool. Good to know with those.
okay,
Is
so yeah, those are so 16. Actually, those are fast page. Yeah, those FPM chips, not EDO.
Ooh. Is that a good thing? Because coming from the
Um,
Mac realm,
it's
I'm not.
uh, it's um, it's older, but it's more compatible with older systems.
Cool, good to know.
EDO is better for the systems that support it, but some systems don't like EDO because they were they were made before EDO was around.
Hmm.
Some systems work okay with it, even if they don't actually support the EDO special EDO signaling. It depends.
Yeah, like all old technology, it depends. But, bingo. Okay. So I'm getting stuff set aside. So let's see. What is this? Oh. Huh. So this is interesting. And this actually might be of at least of interest, maybe interest to you. Uh,
Power connectors.
Molex, or at least Tyco. Tyco AMP. It says Molex, even though the manufacturer. This is actually not the original manufacturer of this design. Um, I'm being nitpicky
Uh,
here, but this is like knowing where these are from, but not giving it away. This is surplus material from a major electronics conglomerate. I'll put it that way. There's a number of them. So, one of the products that they sold, especially in the time that EDO would have been around, is optical drives. So, this would have been the power adapter on the optical mainboard, or the optical
yeah.
drive mainboard.
Yeah, it does look like a through-hole PCB component.
Mm-hmm. So it's a bunch of those. I actually have these for making your own extended power supply cables or extenders and multi-taps. I picked them off. And that's why even though this says Molex on it, looking for the part number at a physical electronic retailing tailor store, it's a Tyco part. It's it is not originally Molex, but because Molex made other adapters, like I think they're one of the people or the companies that made the Berg connector. Uh, Basically, any plastic power connector for PC that was like this was automatically considered Molex at the time. So the name kinda stuck. Oh, even more. So here's some more Molex, but instead of through hole surface mount on this, this is through hole top mount. So this would be like if your motherboard had if you had an ATX motherboard and you had just the power going to the motherboard, you could have the SATA power coming off the motherboard to the individual components like floppy drives or disk drives or optical drives. So that's what these are for. Okay, that's neat. Let's see, what is this though? Because this, actually, I think I know what this is. I think this is a SCSI converter. So I think this is a 50 pin to the narrow pin. So you can see that.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the audio crapped out on this end.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, you didn't miss much other than my tangent on Molex and how the Molex adapter actually isn't a Molex adapter, it's a
Okay,
Tyco
yeah.
AMP.
Alright. Yeah, I'm aware of that actually, so.
But yeah, this
Yeah,
looks like a
SCSI adapter, yeah.
yeah 50 pin to narrow pin. I never really fully understood the SCSI pinout, and they've got so many different adapters that can be SCSI, and then you've got Apple's, which is the 50 pin that matches the printer parallel port on PC, and God, it was a mess dealing with the A plus certification with knowing what your connectors were, and I have long since
Well,
forgot.
the Apple SCSI connector was a 25 pin D sub connector.
What Okay, this is interesting because, huh? Okay. Uh, this was supposed to be a SAS drive.
Does it
Uh,
look that different from a SATA drive?
Let me actually get
That's
one for you to see as a comparison. Because, hmm. So there's a cutout here in the center. There isn't a cutout here. But technically, for a SAS drive, there'd be some additional pins on this plastic inner part that for data communication. But this,
okay.
this is a SAS drive. Okay, come on, get back in there. Don't make me use the soft. There we go. Get in there, nice and smooth. So this was supposed to be a 160 gig SAS drive. Turns out it's a SATA drive at 160 gigs.
Okay.
Hmm. I don't know what I'll use this for, but if it's healthy, eh, it might be good in. I've got an all-in-one that I'm going to be using as a demo machine at scale if I go to scale. Um, and that all depends on whether whether I have a place to stay close enough. Because I don't know if I told you this, but Drew is thinking of having people stay at his house because he now owns a house, but he lives in Long Beach. And he has in his mind that he'd be able to make it from Long Beach to Pasadena and back, and the commute would only take less than 30 minutes. I don't think
If
so.
you if you go on the freeway early enough and late enough, maybe.
Yeah, and he's the type of person to sleep in, so he's not an
Oh
early
yeah,
riser. Yeah,
there is
there
no hope whatsoever.
absolutely none. They're fucked if they think they can do that. So unless he's able to get a place, or if Jill is able to figure out some housing for us, the Linux Gamecast slash Linux Chicks group, um, like primarily it would be at minimum you, me, and I think Tyson. Is that who the other guy is? The tall guy?
Yep.
Uh, at minimum, the three of us would need some housing. So, yeah, it's all up in the air, and I need to get down and talk to Drew about that. Um, huh. My doctor said I needed some more fiber. I don't think this is the fiber he was referring to, but uh,
Cool.
huh, wow, patch panel fiber. This one's probably shop because it needs to have the little plastic rubbery condoms on the end there. This one will be fine because, well, one, this is sealed and brand new. Does this have the... Huh. So, yeah. Huh. Additional fiber cables. Huzzah. Optical,
Cool.
let's see, what are these? Optical fiber patch cords. Duplex SC to SC ferrule type ceramic. Ooh, sounds fancy.
Not too familiar with fiber optics.
Neither am I, but I think I showed you at least in one of the Linux Gamecast after shows that fiber cable that I picked up for $1, the 100-foot one.
Oh.
That's worth $39 and has a lifetime warranty on it. The CyberPower.
Uh-huh.
Huh. Well, looks like I've
That
got another breadboard.
yeah, that is breadboard
Yeah,
used for electronics prototyping.
yeah, you've got one now too, don't you? Well,
Yeah.
I
I
obviously know because I'm the one who brought it down for you.
yeah.
This one's definitely yellowed. But hey, yellowing doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Oh, there's a dead bug in one of the ports. Well, port 47's shot. There's a bug. Got a bug report it. This is weird. I mean,
Tiny Ethernet cables.
yes. Not to be coarse or anything, but I think my penis is longer than these. They're so small. What the heck would these be for?
Probably for connecting a rack mount switch to a rack mount other equipment directly above or below it, or maybe even connecting switches to each other.
Actually, they kind of say what they might be for. Cable assembly, handset, Junic. 111964. Handset. Okay, that...
Handset.
Well, to give you another idea of the place that this was surplus from, one of the other things that they've manufactured, other than optical drives for PCs, is phones, both VoIP and normal landline.
Okay, I guess if the phone IP phone is like right next to the Ethernet jack, I guess.
So the next set, what do you want to do? Processors, or do you want to do a really interesting graphics card?
Let's do processors first.
Okay. In which case, I am going to bring out paper towels, alcohol, not the drinking kind, and the processors. I think you can see what one of them is through the bag, or at least two of them.
Intel Pentium.
Oh God, look at all that goop. Oh, hello, celeries. Oh boy, some of these I'm
Bear dies.
Yeah, those ones are Celerons.
The 1 gigahertz Pentium 3 I have is a bear die package like that.
Yeah, almost all of the AMD ones that or processors I've got are bare dies as well.
Yeah, a couple of Ethon XP processors I have are like that.
Jeez, the whatever thermal paste they used on this is so tacky. This one is an Intel Pentium SY016.
Okay, Intel Pentium 166 megahertz. That's
Oh, well, that's a classic one. If it's 166, although, is it MMX?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Boo. Yeah, I remember when I finally got around to working with x86 hardware. Uh, I mean, the Pentium 3 and the Pentium 4 were out, but for the work that I was doing, the for the special ed department, the only stuff that we were given was hand-me-downs, and it was all Pentiums, Pentium MMXs, or the AMD equivalents. And I remember the best machines that we would get that were secondhand that performed the best were the MMXs. So comparing a Pentium 166 megahertz to a Pentium 166 megahertz MMX, there was a huge difference between the two. Oh, there is a different one here.
Well, yeah, for software that does support MMX, yeah, that can help a lot with performance. But it's highly dependent on the workload.
So this one, come on, focus, is a different number, SY007, I think.
Okay, yeah, that is a 100 megahertz Pentium. Hello?
Yep, yeah, I'm here. So it's 100 megahertz?
Yep.
Hmm.
I don't think any of these are MMX Pentiums. Typically, they would say on the label
Yeah.
if they were.
Well, it looks like we've got three SY016s, One's 007. Uh, this one, the thermal paste kind of just does not want to come off, so I'll set that aside. Let's see what these celeries are. Oh, okay. So you remember that Celeron we looked at earlier? I think these are the same socket.
Yeah, those are socket 370s, yeah.
These are 300 or a 700 megahertz, 128, 66, 1.7, and the model is SL4P8.
SL4. 66. So that would be 66 megahertz bus speed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, yeah, it is. The 700, 128. It would be 128 kilobytes of cache, 1.7 volts. All right, it's a Pentium 3 class processor because it has SSE support.
Ooh, fancy. The interesting thing would be how does it compare with that other Celeron that we found of the same socket type?
Well, both the main frequency and the bus speed are slower than that other one. And let's see, and yeah, it has half the level 2 cache as well. So yeah, worse all around. Also, it's a copper mine compared to the Tualatin.
Hmm. Coppermine used to be the whole shiz. I just heard people ranting and raving about it back in the day. Back in my day, Coppermine was supposed to be better than the PowerPC processors that IBM were making, and told them to be all fancy and great and stuff.
Well, well, it certainly could be true, but this would be one of the lower end ones.
Yeah. I was still on the side that the PowerPC was better. But I'm biased. uh, Still interesting. Do you think these Pentiums have any value? Or are they just worth their weight in the scrap gold in the back?
Uh, hmm. Well, it'll be useful in a retro machine. I think at this point the Pentiums are getting into that
Hmm.
category.
Well, the next thing is that I'm going to bring out is going to be interesting, not for just for what it is, and that it was covered last week by Phil's computer lab. But the form factor is different. I doubt you'll be able to identify what it is from the front here. Other than the
Okay,
fact
well,
that, go ahead.
yeah, it's an AGP card.
Mm-hmm.
Although bracket is weird.
Very weird.
Ooh, Rage 128, huh?
Mm-hmm. Let's see, what one is it? Because the Rage 128 had the Rage 128, 128 Pro. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think the Rage XL was also a series, although the Rage... Phil's Computer Lab did a video on the Rage XL, and one of the reasons why the XL had such long staying power is it was also used in servers because it was a very, very low powered graphics chip. I mean, it only took like 15 or so watts at max. It was a very, very low powered graphics processor. So it would work well in servers where you only needed 10 at most 1024 by 768 as a maximum resolution, because most of the time you'd be in a terminal, so you didn't need super high resolution 3D rendering graphics, etc. So the Rage lasted through until AMD teamed up with Intel, and they created what was called the ATI ES 1000, which was derived off of the Radeon 7200. So it was actually a pretty potent chip. The weird thing is the Windows driver for that chip stripped some of the additional stuff that you'd get with the 7200 Radeon, like 3D acceleration in some of the higher resolutions, even though it was only a 16 meg chip that the parts would come in. But if you installed Linux, you'd unlock the 3D acceleration on the chip.
Huh.
So back when I was running one of my PowerEdge servers, which had the ATI ES 1000, I got much better performance on Linux than I did if I had been running a Windows Server environment. Now, the question with this is it at all useful? For me, definitely not, because I've I've not owned an AGP machine other than, I think, my Power Mac G4 Tower, but even then, that was a proprietary AGP because it required 40 watts for the special 80p port that was on the back. So I couldn't, I wouldn't have been able to plug this in anyways.
Yeah, well, I think a main issue is what the heck is that bracket back there?
Uh, the person that I got this from mentioned that this was pulled out of some proprietary form factor. So if you remove the bracket, the card's standard AGP. It's just the bracket that's the bracket, and this will cut out here. That makes it different than your normal Rage 128.
Okay, so the the VGA card will be in the right place for a regular bracket if you
Mm-hmm.
somehow manage to find one.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
Well, at least now I've got a graphics card since I can't buy a GTX 1080 Ti or one of the RTX cards because they're not in stock anywhere, or when they are in stock, it's because of scalpers and scalper prices. I have a graphics card! Woohoo! Huzzah! Best Christmas ever. uh, the next one is that interesting one that I was telling you about. So, and a friend, Incognito Man, might be interested in one of these. Ta-da!
Wait, you have two of them?
I have two.
Dang.
That's why I said one of these can be easily spared just in case if you want. And I'm trying to see if either Incognito Man or Nova the Canadian would be interesting because I hear these make good Windows 98 machines. So I don't know if you followed the discussion on on the Silverant Discord server. I kind of pinged your name at some point.
Yeah, I think I did see a little bit of that.
So I think Incognito Man would be interested in one of these, and because he's such a good friend and he's helped me out so many times, if he's willing to pay for shipping on one of these, I'd be more than happy to ship it for not. I'm not going to sell these. I want them to find a good home. Is basically my mindset, and if he can give it a good
Yeah.
home and pay for shipping, thumbs up.
So, yeah. So the thing about these boards is, this series of boards is what started the mini ITX form factor.
Really?
Yeah, it was developed by VIA for
Mm-hmm.
use in embedded
Oh yeah,
sort of embedded systems.
I knew that VIA invented the ITX, the Pico ITX, and I think there was one that was even smaller than ITX. Uh, I think it was like a 5x6. Oh,
Yeah, there were some
really?
weird form factors that
I think the only one that was smaller, that was a semi-standard. There was prior to the Raspberry Pi becoming the juggernaut that it was, there was a computer system that fit in like a wall wart. And you'd have one USB port, your SD card slot, an Ethernet slot, and I don't remember if it had a video output. And I think it was QB something or other. This is so long ago. This is like 2005. But the board and the shape and the size of it was pushed to be a standard that they wanted to have replace the what is it, the PC 102 standard?
PC 104.
Yeah, that one. So let's open this up. I've not seen one of these or opened it.
Right, so yeah, VIA made a bunch of ITX form factors over the years. Mini ITX was the first. The range of EPIA boards that basically started the whole thing. And then yeah, there's Nano ITX, which is slightly smaller, 120
Wow.
millimeter square compared to 170 for the Mini ITX.
Mm-hmm.
Then came Pico ITX, which is 100 by 72 millimeters. And then Mobile ITX came out in around 2007, 2009, sometime around then. Is 75 by 45 millimeters.
Well, how are you liking yours or your machine? because I do have an ITX board that it was the
That,
first machine that I ever bought and built, or I should say, it's the first machine I ever built.
oh, yeah, M10,000 served me pretty well. I had it running as a server for years before I later installed Windows 98 on it for
Does it work out as
for
a good, decent Windows 98 machine?
it works. It works out pretty well. I think the main issue I'm having with it is the 3D acceleration with the onboard graphics. That I'm having issues running Unreal Tournament on it.
Hmm.
I
Well,
was able to get Unreal Tournament running just fine on Linux. So,
well,
there's that.
one of the things that I've been reading about is the graphics chip that is on here is based off of the Savage 4. So, if that at all helps, potentially installing a Savage 4 graphics driver might help. Potentially? Question mark.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've looked into it. I might be able to find some guides regarding that on there, because the Epia boards were pretty popular, especially
Oh
when they were
yeah.
initially released.
I The funny thing I found is one of the sites that has the best information on the specs for the board that also sold the board when the site's online store was up and functioning is Damn Small Linux. That supposedly was a very, very popular board for Damn Small Linux back in the day. And they sold it for 120 bucks.
Huh.
But I have no need for that because my ITX board, or at least my first one, is that. So the main key here is dual core N33, or the N30 330 or whatever you want to call it. This is a dual core, hyper-threaded, 64-bit Atom processor at
Uh,
1.6, either 1.6 or 1.66 gigahertz. So this, at least when I got it, would keep up with some of the budget, low-end 775 processors that I could have potentially afforded at the time. Mostly because this had much more cache, and this was also 64-bit. Although around the same time that I got this, the Core 2 Duo started coming out, but I couldn't afford that. The other thing is NVIDIA Ion. So this has got an NVIDIA GeForce G218 graphics chip on it, which at the time I got this, yes, it was the low end of the market, but it was equivalent to a GTS 8600 or a GT 9500. So, I mean, it's not bad. The reason why it's in the box here is because the CPU is overheating, and I cannot get it under control. At idle, it's above 60 degrees Celsius. It peaks at boot to around 80 to 90 Celsius during the boot process, and it thermal throttles when I put it under load. So I was no longer able to use this for my last idea of what I wanted to use this for, which was like a network attached storage, since this is pretty darn low powered. It's since been superseded by the Asus P877 P8Z77i, which much newer architecture, more cores, more threads, more RAM, faster RAM, better onboard graphics, etc. So, but I'm pretty sure this, even when this thermal throttles, would run circles around that via. The other thing is, I don't know if this would be a good retro Windows 98 machine, though. I don't know if Windows 98 would play nice with the Atom processor. What are your thoughts? Are you still there? Are you with me? Did I crash? Oh god. Did I crash? Are we dead? Oh no.
Okay, I'm back. I'm back.
Oh, okay, cool. So the question that I asked is, so I don't think this would work well as a Windows 98 machine, because
Oh, definitely not.
I don't think the Windows 98 would care too much for the Atom processor. The graphics, you might be able to get away with it. There might be.
Even if you do manage to get Windows 98 running on it, it'll only use a single core.
Yeah. So there's really not much of a point in dual core hyper-threaded. So, yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And the rest that I picked up or that I got were a bunch of SCSI drives, a bunch of old, or at this point, SCSI, just normal SCSI drives are old. Uh, but there are a lot of them. Oh dear God. I don't know if you saw the photo that I posted in Silverant, but let me link it to you in Discord, because Jesus Christ, that is a lot of drives. And the fact that the company that was surplusing them, the conglomerate that shall not be named, um, they were going to throw these away. All of those are SCSI. 300 gigabyte Ultra SCSI 320 drives. Whew.
300 gigabytes?
300 gigabytes.
Oh.
It's actually the only reason why I was like, that might be useful. Because, I mean, potentially these drives might work in that Mac clone that you have. Potentially.
Possibly? Yeah.
And, I mean,
Maybe.
Jill's got all those retro render farms that she randomly uses here and there. So, let me see if I can get this up for the people watching. I'm gonna save it to this computer. Save. And then I'm gonna go to OBS, add source, image. Okay, browse, pictures. Oh, oh dear, what did that save as? Uh, but yeah, that's a whole lot of drives. Whoa, boy, that was big. Let's shrink that down to something that people can actually see. Wow, still too big. Too
I wonder if
many
there
drives.
was some. I wonder if there was some software limitation for how big a drive the System 7 supported.
Or even System 8. Even System 9, because I think your system can support up to 9.22.
Well, by 8 or 9 it was called Mac OS, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, Mac OS 7.6 was actually kind of really where the name
Yeah.
started. But 7.5 was still not necessarily Finder, but I think even 7.5 was Mac OS 7.5. But the whole UI changed in 8.
Okay. Maximum volume size under System 6 and System 7 is 2 gigabytes. System 7.5 increased the limit to 4 gigabytes. And 7.5.2 increased the limit to 2 terabytes on some computers.
Ooh, wow. It wouldn't surprise me because Apple was using SCSI drives at the time, so
Yeah, on something including any computer that came with System 7.5.2 or newer, and any Macintosh computer with PCI slots.
hmm,
Okay,
wow.
so I probably could use these drives on the Mac clone then.
Yeah, so and there's a lot of them. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 18 drives. Uh, that's not an unsubstantial amount of storage. And they're all sealed. They're all brand new. And the fact that they were going to throw them away and not e-waste them or have them recycled. So I'm looking at maybe about $10-15 worth of industrial aluminium there at my local
Mm.
recycle center.
Oh wow.
But again, they're brand new, so I'm thinking Macintosh or potentially Jill, because Jill still uses this sort of antiquated hardware. Not to be mean to her, but she
Yeah.
does she does still use that sort of hardware, so good on her.
Yeah, if these and if this drive is compatible with that Mac clone, I would be interested in one.
Most certainly. When I come down and visit next, I'll bring one. I think the biggest issue is now. About I give me a moment. I'm gonna go in and get one because I think it's got the hot swap back on it. So it's got the single port that does the power and the data that goes through the single connector. But well, there. Let me turn this off. And what is that other than a can of Coca-Cola has suddenly mysteriously appeared?
That looks like the power switch on the front of one of my 486 cases.
I would not be actually really surprised. Either this is from knowing where the company that this is from. It could be from one of their 486 industrial computers, or what is it? The MSX? Because they also made that too. Whew. Oh, 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 that's such a satisfying noise and feel. Oh my god.
Right, so before the ATX form factor, um, there was AT and baby AT form factor. The power supplies that those used had an actual physical switch to turn the computer on and off, and the switch actually had the actual line voltage going through it, so 120 volts or 240 volts AC, depending on where you are.
Hmm.
That so there were power cables going from the power supply to the switch and connected with spade connectors.
Yep, that one's got spade connectors. And better yet, I think if I reach over here, yes, yellow. I
Yeah,
have this.
so that's how it did it. It was actually basically just regular AC power switch,
Yeah,
basically connected to the power supply.
so eh, I definitely know I'd probably find some use for this. The interesting thing is it's got the two spades on the back, which is
Okay, so then that would mean it would switch both the hot and the neutral. Actually, it looks like it has space for a third pair of spades. I'm guessing it was made to possibly be used for three-phase power as well.
probably.
'Cause you
I'd
certainly wouldn't be switching ground lines. That would make no sense.
come on, focus. There we go. Nope, focus. Come on, get back. Okay, so this is 10 amp at 250 volts AC, 15 amps at 125 volt AC.
Okay.
But if you give me a moment, I'll go get one of the SCSI drives so that we could take a look at it. I'll be right back. Okay, so having taken a look at the drive or one of the drives right now, it actually might work. You'll probably need to check to see if you need an adapter, but well, yeah, trying to get the angle so that you could see it a little better. Is your audio blanked out again?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So that's the narrow pin there, but it does have a dedicated Molex power connector.
Right, so
Oh, focus.
ooh, the 10K RPM.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are gonna be noisy.
Hard drive go brrrr. uh,
Okay,
this.
so that's a 68 pin connector down there. So that is a wide SCSI.
Hmm.
What if I go if it does this? I don't remember what kind of SCSI the the Mac clone uses.
I think it was like 160.
160?
Yeah, because it went 160, 320. And I think,
Like Ultra 160?
I believe so. It,
Okay, so that is wide SCSI, so it should work.
but I don't remember fully, so you'll probably want to crack it open and check and see at some point. But again, I have
As
18
long
of
as
these.
it's some variant of wide SCSI, it's probably compatible.
Oh, let's check. The model number is ST33007LW. Let's see if I can.
Okay, the drive is Ultra 320.
Okay.
What did
Oh, but I don't see the point in blocking out the serial number.
UMac Supermac S900? What variant of SCSI did that have? RAM types, RAM, DRAM, CD-ROM, processor, local side, data path, maximum RAM slots, hard drive type, SCSI 2.
Oh. Hmm. Would SCSI 2 be compatible? Obviously you'd need like some sort of adapter. Whoa!
Whoa!
I can hear myself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, sounds like Alan's having some more audio issues. Please hold. Actually, come to think of it, I'm taking a look at the video footage right now. Those of you watching, I see speckles, like artifacts popping here and there. I think my Logitech C900 is finally giving up the ghost after about
Okay,
10
okay.
years. Welcome
I'm
back.
back again. Yeah, sorry about this. Like I don't know,
The ghost.
sometimes, oftentimes, the audio is perfectly reliable for hours and hours at a time, and sometimes it craps out incredibly often, like it's doing right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say that it's the ghost of Nubbin because Nubbin's not here with us. I'm sorry. Because if I remember correctly, the reason why he didn't join in voice was because he was having some audio issues, or at least that's what he
Uh,
told me. If he's watching, hi Nubbin. No game stream tomorrow. No Deep Rock. Sorry. Next week, maybe? Question mark. Wait, next week isn't next Saturday New Year's? I think it is.
yes, it is.
Hmm. Neat. Well, uh, this, yeah, as you mentioned, is probably loud, but I bet you anything this is louder.
Ooh.
Industrial grade Sunon! Yes, it's only a 2.5 watt. I mean, it's no Delta Blowy McBlowatron, but it's also not my first rodeo with this particular fan model. And these blow. Oh my god, do these blow. And in the way that is good for a fan. Kind of like when you say, "Ah, my vacuum sucks." Well, isn't that kind of its job? Yeah. So I'm expecting this to be pretty darn potent. I was using this in the system here to try and keep the chipset and the hodgepodge card cool because there's like no airflow in this case that I have stuff set on. So this might be useful. 2 pin, and it is really nice and clean. Oh my god, this is so clean. This looks almost brand new. I'm thrilled. Yes, I've got a whole box of these, including some deltas and Nidex, but having such a clean example one of these to the point where I feel confident that this is probably brand new and never been used. This is nice. Let's see, what's some of the other stuff that I got? Let's see, Windows Professional 2000, Service Pack 2, Windows 2000, Service Pack 1, Office 98, not flipping that over because I want the service key. Ooh, okay, this is actually one I don't have. Windows 2000 Service Pack 4. I think that was one of the later releases too.
Hmm.
Personally, I loved Windows 2000. 2000 to me was far superior to Millennium Edition. It was in my experience, it was so much more stable. But I was coming from a Mac viewpoint. So I went from Mac to using Windows 2000 at school 2098, and thus I didn't have the DOS gaming background, which is one of the reasons why people back in the day seem to prefer Windows Millennium Edition, is because Windows Millennium is DOS based and better for DOS gaming.
Except that it was in Windows ME, Microsoft removed the MS-DOS mode and all that stuff. And there were ways around it, but there were other issues. People generally preferred Windows 98 to Windows ME.
Yeah. ME hasn't aged very well, in my opinion, but then again, I have an compared to Vista, which a lot of people hate, I have a hate boner for Millennium Edition. Every client that I've ever dealt with that had a machine with Millennium Edition, the OS got trashed and they'd have a blue screen. 100% of the time. Their OS would be trashed to the point where all they'd get is an unrecoverable blue screen.
Yeah, Windows ME had all sorts of issues.
Well, this is going to be an interesting blast to the past. I kind of joked with the person that dropped the stuff off. I don't know if you heard with the WAN show, but Radio Shack's back, baby! Woohoo! But this is clearly new old stock perf board.
Yeah, I think I have some of that laying around from Radio Shack in that same exact packaging.
I've actually never owned one of these. But then again, I never did. My hand wasn't steady, and the soldering iron that I had was absolute shit. I wouldn't have been able to do any soldering in the first place. But speaking of soldering, I yeah, that that was an interesting box to see. I don't. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. You see it on the screen?
Hakko.
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 So yeah, this is a Hakko soldering iron, but I was like, ooh, is this like one of the ones that plugs directly into the wall? Please don't have a DIN socket. Please don't have a DIN socket. Please don't have a DIN socket. God damn it, it's got a DIN socket. Which means this needs the control base. But
yeah,
the Hakko 900. Ooh. And I think the one thing that I'll find interesting is Matthew had bought me a soldering iron for Christmas a while back off of Adafruit. How do you pronounce it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Ada?
Adafruit. Just as a heads up, I've had one bottle of cider, half a bottle of wine, 2 rum and cokes. I'm a little bit sauced at the moment. But
I don't drink for Christmas.
Huh?
I don't drink for Christmas.
Oh. I typically don't, but the family was over and well, I was drinking Coke and plopped some rum in it. And then I had wine at dinner and cider for an after dinner aperitif. But going back to the other story, the tip that's on this, is the same sort of tip as what goes on the soldering iron I got from Matthew. So if I can take this off, I can swap it onto the other soldering iron, which was the first soldering iron that I've ever owned that I've been able to do something good with. But I'm actually going to keep this at least for now as is because said person the company may be surplusing some of their old electronics test equipment, including some Hakko soldering irons.
Uh,
So he might actually be able to get me the base station for this, which would be totes excites. The other thing, I think there's like one, well, technically there's two, but one of the last things that's in the box that I haven't pulled out. Let's see. Okay, it is exactly. It's a white box. Really nondescript, isn't it? Like literally
yep.
no writing on it whatsoever.
Huh.
Well, I
Pretty
own
common.
I own two of these because these have been incredibly useful. Like that
Uh,
Itx board that I showed you earlier. This
yeah.
was what pulled all the hot air out of the system. That should give you an idea of what it is.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you owned two of those nondescript boxes. Like, I own a few of those as well.
True.
Oh, one of those blower fan things. Yeah, I think I might have a couple of. I think I might have a couple of ones like that. I think the ones I have actually have twin fans on them.
Hmm. I use this in the ITX case that I had the Zotac in because there wasn't enough space between the heatsink and the power supply for me to put the included fan. So I had one of these pulling air out of the system, and then I had a 180 or an 80 millimeter fan attached to the side case, kind of jerry rigged, and that blew cool air in straight over the heatsink onto this. And that
Hmm.
is why I pulled that board out of production, is because even with all this airflow, note that the other fan that I was using was a Delta Blowy McBlowatron. So it pushed a hell of a lot of air. But the fact that that couldn't keep that atom cool was one of the reasons why it got pulled out of production. And the only reason why I'm keeping it, the motherboard, is it's the first machine that I ever built out of brand new parts. And it's actually kind of the first machine that I built with parts versus rebuilding pre-existing original equipment and manufacturers, stuff like HPs, Dells, Lenovo's, etc. So I've got two of these. So these will be incredibly useful, although today's age I might have to snip the Molex adapter off and put a SATA power adapter. But it just so happens on one of my DigiKey Bohms, I got the parts to do that.
Uh, there should be SATA to Molex adapters around. Also, probably still find Molex power connectors here and there.
Oh yeah, uh, if you get a a normal off-the-shelf power supply, you'll be at least guaranteed to get one modular cable that will be Molex. So for example, the power supply that I'll bring down for your home theater PC, that thermal take, That's got Molex. Technically, I think you might be better off with a lower wattage, and I would offer the Antec that's in this machine here, but that one's got that one's used, and one of the SATA cables has broken on it, so I don't feel comfortable. And the thermal take is literally brand new. I only used it to test that screeching board because I knew it was a good power supply and I wanted to rule out power supplies.
Uh,
I think you've seen the video where I tested some Acer motherboard and it just screeched whenever I powered it on.
that does sound vaguely familiar. Yeah.
Which sucks too since that's got a 6th gen Intel processor in it. But that's well, most of what I got. But wait, there's more. Oh dear. Oh dear. It says deer on the side. I just noticed that. Yay for mysterious power supply. What's the... So between the 5 volt and 3.3, it's 165. Plus 120 on the 12 volt. So that's 2... 285 watts. So closer to about 300 watts. Huh.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, that explains it. 300 there.
Yeah.
I think this is a 20 pin.
Yeah,
One,
looks old enough.
6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's a 20 pin. Do you have a spare 20 pin for testing those Pentium boards for uh, Nova, the Canadian?
Um, those were ATX. Well, I do have I do have some older 300-watt supplies laying around.
Yeah, some of them I probably brought down for you too. Okay, cool. Oh, I have an odd feeling this will be made into a bench supply. It's actually quite hefty compared to what's this this other supply that I have. I mean this other supply that I have, well, first of all, it's dirty as fuck inside, but it's a bit more of a well-known brand, Coolmax.
Yeah.
And this one's 400 watt.
Looks like it's 20 plus 4 ATX connector on there.
Mm-hmm. Correct. This is light. Oh, if feeling the
Oh,
weight difference between the two, I could probably chuck this to the moon. This one I'd have a little bit more difficulty to. So this is like really light.
that does not inspire much confidence.
No. which is why I pulled it out of production because I mean, it, the connector wise, it's actually not bad. It's got a good array of Molex, SATA, even a Berg connector there. So like it's connector wise, it's not really too shabby. And so far, it's passed all of my quality checks. My power supply tester says this is perfectly good. So
Hmm.
I just don't, I no longer trust this as a power supply to stay on 24/7, which is why it got pulled out and replaced with a Delta power supply, but a 250 watt. So, mm, anywho, that's pretty much all I got. How about you? Did you get anything interesting?
I got some wireless earbuds.
Ooh, ooh, that's gonna be
Yeah.
nice. Cause you're out and about a bit more often than I am.
Yeah, I got it working with my desktop computer, so I can go to the bathroom while still listening to whatever's going on it.
uh, isn't that wonderful? It's kind of like this headset that I'm wearing right now on my Dell PowerEdge server. Uh, the range is so good that I was able to walk to the other side of the garage and you could still hear me. It didn't cut out. That's so nice. So nice. Um, what brand are they, or what model, or whatnot? Kind of.
Uh, s- JLab? Like, I don't know, they're just Bluetooth earbuds.
Okay, I actually know who JLab is. They're not. They're a budget headphone, but they're not. Do you remember? I think you were with us. There was oh yeah, the Red Hat Bluetooth headphones that they were giving out at scale.
Uh, don't remember those. I got wired Red Hat headphones or earbuds.
They were giving out Bluetooth Red Hat branded headphones. Oh, oh God, they're bad.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you'll get somewhat better audio quality out of 99-cent store headphones and dollar headphones. Ah. So the brand you mentioned, I know, has a lot more of a better reputation than that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
cool,
audio quality wise, they seem to be fine.
cool. I'm glad. I've been actually looking into maybe getting some. Uh, local thrift store had some Sony headphones that looked like they were wireless Bluetooth. Turned out, after I looked up the model number, they were an MP3 player that only supported Sony's A-Track file system and would only connect to a computer using whatever Sony proprietary software was used with A-Track 3. Nope. Absolutely nope. So I gave up. Uh, so good to know. Anything else? Anything?
Hmm. Got some candy.
Hmm.
And
Yep. I
And
got
a shark rug.
a shark rug. Ooh. Uh, Hololive or just a normal shark?
Regular old shark.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, one of the other things that I picked up that I don't have in here is because my dad and Patty, or my dad and my stepmother went to Hawaii, they picked up some Hawaiian honey. And the thing about Hawaii, of all of the native plants on Hawaii, there is only one that can be used by bees to produce honey. So out of all of the
Really?
flora and fauna on Hawaii, there is only one native species of plant on the islands that can produce honey. And my dad and my stepmother picked me up a absolutely gargantuan 48.7-ounce bottle of honey. It
Wow.
is huge. Uh, the downside is this particular honey, it's an acquired taste. And I have not acquired the taste to it. I cannot, it is, I can explain and describe all of the 27 different flavors of honey that they have at Bennett's Honey Farm near here. I can explain and try and describe all of the flavors from the two other honey stores and farms in the area. But for me to try and describe the flavor, the texture, the profile, and the aroma of this Hawaiian honey, I need to learn some new languages to figure out how to how to describe it because I can't think of any words in the English language to describe it.
Uh,
The
that
closest I've gotten is acquired taste. Um,
fascinating.
Indeed. So if you ever come back up, like just as a heads up, you're invited for New Year's. If you want to get out of the LA area, you're more than welcome to come up. Um, and if you do come up, you could try some of the honey. See if you know some words in your brain meat that might be worthwhile for describing it. 'Cause I sure as heck
Uh,
can't.
I'm scared.
uh, I'll I'll put it this way. So I mentioned Bennett's Honey Farm. Bennett's Honey Farm has castor bean honey. So for the flowers of the castor bean or the castor plant that makes the castor bean that is got some of the most poisonous material in the world and also is used for castor oil. Uh, that honey that comes from the flowers has a very, very unique flavor and taste to it. It is very, the description that I would have for it would be very manufacturing, almost petroleum and oil like.
Huh.
So it's definitely, with the description that I give, it's definitely an unpleasant. And if I didn't explain the flavor profile to you, the best that I would say is be scared. The Hawaiian honey is not at that level. It is not at the level of, dear God, this might actually kill me. Uh,
Okay, well, not being lethal is good.
I don't think the castor bean or the castor flower honey is lethal, but it does have a very manufactured petroleum-like taste to it, which is off-putting, at least to me. I know there are definitely people that like that and that it can be used to good effect. I just can't think of anything that I'd use it in. Um, an example of another honey that is kind of very divisive is avocado honey. So, honey made from the pollen from avocado trees. It is a very rich honey with a very strong flavor to it, a rich flavor, kind of like a dark wine or a very deep port. So it doesn't necessarily go as well with some things that you'd use it in, like let's say a jasmine tea or a green tea, coffee, green tea. Um, but it can be used quite well as a molasses replacement because it is a thicker, richer honey. It could be used as a replacement for a light molasses or a dark corn syrup. Although, if you're going to go molasses, you might be better off with, I think there's a mesquite honey, which is super dark and super thick. It is very, that is very molasses like. I don't know how did we get on honey, but oh
Hmm.
well. So yeah, I got honey. Um, I got candy as well. Got some gift cards for In and Out, so I'll be saving those up in case of scale.
Nice. Oh, that 4x4 was good.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even ask for a 4x4.
it just magically appeared. I think it was more of someone had ordered something, and they changed their mind and wanted something else. And I think the because we had ordered so much, stuff got scatterbrained. So yeah, you got a 4x4. Sweet. Anywho, I ought to call this a day. For those of you who are watching either here or on YouTube, thank you so very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that jam. If you want to see more of these, hit the description down below. I've got donato links for tossing either a coin my way, or if you want to see more unboxings like this, you could knock something off of my Amazon wish list. Anything off of there, I'll definitely do an unboxing of, and they help make these videos better. I'm guessing, watching the video, I don't know if you see this, Mr. Alert, but I've got some artifacting happening on my video. And I think it's this webcam's finally kicking the bucket after 12 years. So I think I'm going to have to upgrade it. So to those of you watching, if you like these, help me get a new webcam. Okay, thanks. Uh,
Yeah, I'm starting to see the white dots. Yeah.
yeah, how weird. Um, Anywho, thank you, Mr. Alert, for joining me in this adventure and helping me figure out what the heck it is that I got, because that's an era of PC that, one, I didn't really deal with, or when I dealt with it, it's been so long, I have forgotten everything. So thank you so very much for taking time out of your Christmas evening.
Yeah, no problem.
And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye.